18 months ago, my bank account held $412. Today, it holds 10,000 and change, and I never once relied on willpower. What changed wasn't my income, my job, or my discipline. It was the moment I stopped fighting my own brain and started tricking it instead. For years, I did everything the money experts told me to do. I made budgets in bright, colorful spreadsheets every single January. I wrote save more at the top of every resolution list. By February, the spreadsheet was a graveyard of good intentions. I told myself I just needed more discipline, more grit, more control. Every time I failed, I blamed my character instead of my method. I thought saving money was a moral test, and I kept failing it. Then a late night rabbit hole changed everything I believed about saving. I stumbled on a psychology paper about something called the Ulysses contract. In the old myth, Ulysses wanted to hear the siren's deadly song, so he had his crew tie him to the mast before the temptation began. He didn't trust his future self to resist, so he removed the choice entirely. Reading that sentence felt like someone had finally explained my entire life. I never lacked discipline in the morning, calm and rested and rational. I lacked discipline at 11 at night, tired, bored, and scrolling online stores. Willpower isn't a fixed trait, it's a battery that drains all day long. By evening, my battery was empty, and my spending decisions were being made by exhaustion. No amount of motivation could fix a battery problem, so I stopped trying to outdiscipline my exhausted evening brain. Instead, I built my own version of Ulysses's mast. The first trick was brutally simple: automate the transfer before the money ever felt like mine. On payday, before I could see the number, $300 moved to savings automatically. My brain never registered that money as spendable because it never sat in my checking account. Psychologists call this pre-commitment, and it works because it removes the decision entirely. You cannot fail a test you never have to take. Within 1 month, my extra spending money simply shrank, and I barely noticed. The second trick attacked something sneakier: the dopamine hit of impulse buying. Every time I almost bought something unnecessary, I felt a small rush before I even clicked. That rush is dopamine, released in anticipation of the reward, not from owning the item. So I built a rule: any non-essential purchase over $50 had to wait 30 days. If I still wanted it after 30 days, I could buy it guilt-free. Here's the strange part: over 90% of those urges disappeared within a week. The dopamine spike had nothing to do with the object itself. It was about the chase, and the chase always fades once the urgency is gone. That 30-day rule alone saved me more money than any budget ever had. The third trick was about friction, not motivation. I deleted every saved card from every shopping app on my phone. Suddenly, buying something required typing 16 digits by hand every single time. That tiny bit of friction was enough to interrupt the automatic reach for my wallet. Convenience had been quietly stealing my money for years without my permission. Removing convenience gave my rational brain just enough time to catch up. The fourth trick borrowed from something psychologists call habit stacking. I never built a new savings habit from scratch because new habits are fragile. Instead, I attached saving to something I already did every single day. Every time I made my morning coffee, I moved $5 into savings first. The coffee ritual already existed, so the new habit had something sturdy to hold on to. Within weeks, I didn't have to remember to save. The coffee reminded me for free. The fifth trick was the most uncomfortable one: a full spending audit. I sat down and listed every single subscription silently draining my account each month. There were streaming services I hadn't opened in 4 months. There was a gym membership I paid for out of guilt, not attendance. There was an app subscription I forgot even existed until I saw the charge. Altogether, those quiet leaks were costing me almost $90 every single month. I canceled every subscription I couldn't justify using in the last 30 days. That single afternoon of discomfort added over $1,000 to my year. The sixth trick changed my environment instead of my intentions. I unfollowed every influencer whose entire feed was built around buying things. My algorithm had been quietly training me to want things I never needed. Within a month, my feed shifted, and so did my urge to shop. You cannot outdiscipline an environment engineered to make you spend, so I redesigned the environment instead of demanding more strength from myself. The seventh trick was the simplest and somehow the most powerful. I made my progress visible instead of hidden inside a banking app. I drew a simple thermometer chart and colored it in by hand each week. Watching that progress bar creep upward gave me a reward my brain could actually see. Humans aren't wired to feel motivated by abstract numbers in a database. We're wired to feel motivated by visible, tangible progress we can watch grow. That hand-drawn chart kept me consistent longer than any app notification ever did. None of these 7 tricks required extra motivation or extra discipline. Each one simply removed a decision I used to fail at every single day. Month 1, my savings sat at $412. Month 3, it crossed 2,000, and I started to believe this might actually work. Month 6, a small emergency hit, a car repair I couldn't avoid. For the first time in my life, I paid for it without touching a credit card. That single moment meant more to me than any number on a screen. It was proof that the system was working even when life got messy. Month 9, I hit $5,000 and old habits tried to creep back in. I noticed myself eyeing a big purchase I definitely didn't need. Instead of relying on willpower, I let the 30-day rule catch it, like always. 30 days later, the urge was gone and the money stayed exactly where it was. Month 12, I crossed $8,000 further than I'd ever gotten before. I kept waiting for the motivation to run out, the way it always had in the past. But motivation was never the engine driving this, so it had nothing left to run out of. The system didn't need me to feel inspired on any particular day. It just needed the automatic transfer, the friction, and the 30-day pause to keep working. Month 15, an old friend asked how I'd suddenly become so good with money. I told her the truth. I hadn't become good with money at all. I had simply stopped asking my tired, tempted brain to make hard decisions alone. She laughed and said that sounded like cheating. I told her it wasn't cheating. It was just understanding how the brain actually works. Willpower is a limited resource, and every finance guru forgets to mention that. They hand you a budget and a lecture and call it a solution. But a budget without a system is just a wish written down on paper. The 7 tricks weren't complicated, expensive, or even particularly clever on their own. What made them powerful was that they worked without requiring me to be strong. Month 18, I opened my banking app and saw $10,041. I sat there for a full minute just staring at the number. It wasn't the number that hit me hardest, it was how quiet the whole process had felt. There was no dramatic willpower battle, no white-knuckle month of deprivation. There was just a series of small, boring systems running in the background of my life. I used to think people who saved money had some gene I was missing. Now I understand they simply had better systems, not better character. The Ulysses contract taught me to remove the choice before temptation ever arrived. The 30-day rule taught me that most desire is just a passing chemical wave. Friction taught me that convenience is never neutral, it always has a cost. Habit stacking taught me that new habits survive by riding on old ones. The spending audit taught me that silent leaks add up faster than big mistakes. Environment design taught me that willpower is easier when temptation isn't everywhere. And visible progress taught me that motivation follows evidence, not the other way around. None of this required me to become a different, more disciplined person. It only required me to stop blaming myself for a battle I was never built to win alone. If you've tried budgeting apps, resolutions, and motivational quotes and still feel stuck, you're not broken. You're just fighting your own brain with the wrong weapon. Willpower fades every single day, but a good system never gets tired. Pick one trick from this list, just one, and build it into something you already do. Automate a transfer before you see the money. Add a 30-day pause before anything you didn't plan to buy. Delete a saved card, cancel a leak, or draw your own progress chart by hand. You don't need more discipline to start. You need one small system that doesn't depend on how you feel today. That's the entire secret behind the $10,000 sitting in my account right now. Not motivation, not sacrifice, just a handful of quiet tricks working while I lived my life. Your brain isn't your enemy, but it does need better instructions than just try harder. Give it one system this week and let it do the work discipline never could. If this shifted how you think about saving, you know what to do next. Save this video, try one trick today, and tell me in the comments which one you're starting with.